guys, this is Brett from GFB. This is a quick video to show you how to install a DV Plus. This is on a Mercedes A250. The valve is actually very easily located. It's right down here. All we got to do is take the engine cover off and then we'll get started. Okay, so there's only rubber grommets that hold this on. There's 5 of them just spread out around the cover, so they're pretty easy to remove. Just carefully pull up, work your way around, and we'll put that aside. Okay, so this is the factory diverter valve. It's pretty easy to get off the car because there's just 3 screws holding that on. These use a metric 5mm hex key, so you can either use a ball pointed hex key, or I actually find this set up with a ratchet driver easier, because it just makes it easier to get into these lower bolts here. Okay, so the valve can be removed. You don't actually have to take the connector off to do the DV Plus installation, but if you want to, sometimes it helps to just use a small screwdriver just to help ease this clip back a little bit, and then you can take it out like that. So now we'll go and separate the factory valve components and put the DV Plus body on the diverter solenoid. So the next step is pretty straightforward. What you have to do is just separate the valve from the solenoid. It's pretty easy to do. This plastic here, if you just wiggle the shroud rather than pull on the valve itself, it should just pop straight out like that. So take the spring out, we won't be using that, and put that aside. So in the DV Plus kit you get a spring that goes in there, the plunger follows, and then the DV Plus body. Now the important thing to note, these 3 holes are not symmetrical. You'll notice there's a flat just across the top of these 2 holes, and there's a matching flat across here. So make sure you get those lined up. And then click the body together. So you see that the profile is perfectly matched and all 3 holes are lined up. If you get the body on in the wrong orientation, all that's going to happen is that you can't line up one of the holes. So there's only one way that this can go together properly. So if we get that back to where it should be, that's how it should be. So the next step, we put the GFB supplied main spring in, followed by the piston. Now it's a good idea to put a little bit of engine oil on the piston. It's not absolutely necessary, but it just helps when the valve is brand new. And a little bit of oil that is recirculated through the engine breather will keep this lubricated throughout the life of the valve. So I've got the DV Plus assembly here. I've put a little bit of oil on the piston, and just make sure that while you're assembling the valve on the car, hold that piston so it doesn't drop out. You don't want to drop that down the engine bay or dent the outside of the piston in any way. The other thing to make sure of, let's just pop that hose out of the way. The other thing you want to make sure of is that you use the longer bolts supplied with the kit, as the factory bolts aren't going to reach it. Now if you've taken this connector off in the early step, make sure you click it on and push this grey tab all the way up. That's a double lock so that this connector can never come loose. Pop this hose back in.